Hey guys, how you doing? Storyhawk here again. Just reading some stories from r/EntitledParents. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Insane mum feeds her kid a stranger's food, yells abuse, and calls us child abusers when she gets more than she bargained for. This happened a little more than an hour ago. EM is my flatmate's sister. She stopped by to pick up some things their parents had left here and brought her 5-year-old with her. There was fried chicken resting on the countertop that I was preparing for lunch, and without thinking or asking anyone if she could have any, she took a piece and fed it to her child. This was a huge fucking mistake. I'm a pepperhead, and this batch of fried chicken was designed to be a struggle for me. The marinade had ghost pepper sauce in it. The flour and breadcrumbs were loaded with cayenne peppers and chili powder, and the oil sauce was made with more of the ghost pepper sauce. Absolute fucking madness. So I'm upstairs trying to avoid EM. She'd be unpleasant company even when comatose. When I hear all hell break loose down below, the kid in absolute agony, crying at the top of her lungs, and EM screaming her head off. I pop down to see what the hell is going on. Flatmate is trying to relieve the kid with ice cubes and milk, while EM is letting loose about how we hurt her baby. I ask what happened. EM says kid climbed up and got the chicken and starts berating us about how dangerous it was to leave spicy food around small kids. Flatmate calls her bullshit and says there's no way the kid got up there. Chicken was all the way at the back. After denying it, she eventually slips and says something like, "How was I supposed to know?" We press her on why she thought she could just go and take food that didn't belong to her and give it to her kid. She's got no idea what's in it, etc., and she starts into some hysteric crying and screaming routine, calling flatmate irresponsible, accusing us of child abuse. We've ruined her day when she just wanted to see her brother. People are going to think she hits a kid, if it wouldn't surprise me. She was doing us a favour picking up the stuff her parents left. She wasn't, it was her old stuff, and then proceeds to throw the box against the wall. By this point she's so out of control she actually got some snot coming out of her nose. She takes the ice and milk off kid, who is still in complete agony, and storms off to the car, dragging the poor kid along with her. It was an interesting afternoon. 5 out of 7 chicken though. Entitled mum allows her kid to harass an autistic adult, me, gets into an ableist argument when we ask her to rein in her goblin. So this is a story I haven't gotten to tell anywhere else, and it definitely fits this sub, so here goes. I'm aware this post probably sounds like a Tumblr and then everybody clapped story, but unfortunately it is very real and does happen to autistic folks. Also, unfortunately, nobody clapped. My parents are regular customers at a local Mexican restaurant. I'm autistic and very sensitive to noise and chaotic environments, so we usually try to sit outside on the patio where it's quieter. The restaurant recently put in a grassing lawn with play equipment for the kids, and it's the bane of our existence. It's pretty common for groups of soccer mums to sit around and drink while their kids run around and wreak havoc on the diners outside. Drinks spilled, waiters tripped, kids injured by strangers' kids. We've seen several families asked to leave because of their kids' destructive behaviour. This particular night, there was one very large table of 2 families eating right next to us. They had at least 6 kids between them, all below the age of 10. These kids were crazy loud, running wild and screaming next to where people were trying to eat, while their parents, who had long since finished dinner, just sat at the table and drank. There was this one boy, maybe 7 or 8, who was just out of control. I was already on edge from the large amount of yelling children, but this kid stood out about 3 feet from our table and shrieked at the top of his lungs for his sister, or something along those lines. He did this for about 2 full minutes, which is a long time for someone with hypersensitive hearing. It's so bad that other tables on the other side of the patio are turning to look. His parents either didn't notice or didn't care. He then runs off yelling and chasing another kid, both of them screaming. He comes back and continues to yell right next to our table for several minutes. He had also brought this orange football with him and started throwing it to his dad, who was sitting at the table next to us. At one point, the football almost hit me in the head. This prompted my grandmother, who has no filter and isn't adverse to picking fights in public, to say to the dad, "That football better not hit any of my grandkids." My 2 younger siblings and mother were also present. Enter entitled mum. The mum, complete with Karen haircut, Lauren James shirt and get me a manager sunglasses, turns around and rolls her eyes and says, "It's just a foam football, get over it." At this point I'm barely holding on from the extreme sensory overload. For those who don't know what that feels like, I'll explain because it's important. When there's too much sensory input for my brain to process, i.e. kids running and screaming, the smell of lots of mixed foods, lots of loud conversations all going on at once, my brain goes into overdrive. This looks and feels slightly different for everyone with autism, but for me it manifests as a stabbing pain between my eyes, dizziness and hyperventilation. Sometimes I also have angry spells as a response to too much stimuli. Back to entitled Mum. Because I'm so overloaded, I can barely keep from crying, much of this caused by her goblin child. All I can do is glare at EM. EM glares right back at me and says, "What? What's your problem?" My grandmother, sensing trouble, jumps in with, "She has autism, this is just too much for her." Entitled Mother responds with, "My kid isn't doing anything. He's just playing catch with his dad." Keep in mind we're in a restaurant, and this game is going on literally over our heads. At this point, all the input is too much for me, so I say to the entitled mother as calmly as I can, "I'm sorry, but your son has been standing next to our table screaming and throwing things next to my head. It's just a little much." Here's where the ableism kicks in and entitled mother goes off the rails. "He's a kid. Get over yourself. Why didn't you say anything before if that was that bad?" "I'm saying something now and you're not listening." Entitled mother then attempts to downplay her ableism by telling us that, "I teach special ed, so I get it, but you're being ridiculous." My bullshit meter goes through the roof and I'm trying not to melt down. If you teach special ed, you should know that I'm serious and having a lot of trouble right now. She continues to argue with me and tell me that her son is just being a kid and I'm an adult and need to calm down. I try to calmly tell her that when a disabled person is asking you to adjust your behaviour because it's hurting them, you need to listen instead of getting defensive. Maybe I can turn this into a teaching moment instead of an argument. No such luck. She continues to shut me down with insistences of, "I teach special ed," because her spending a few hours a week with a couple of autistic kids discounts my lifelong experience as an autistic adult. The whole time her damn kid is still yelling and wreaking havoc. My family, up until this point, has been completely silent, and is letting me stand up for myself because they know it's important to me, but they're starting to get upset. My mum is ushering my siblings to pack up and leave, and my grandmother is calling over the manager. She finally sends me out to the car to calm down because now I'm really close to meltdown point. I'm not sure what exactly happened after that because I was waiting in the car crying it out. But I do know that I never got to eat anything, and that the manager apparently gave us our meal free. Apparently just as a gesture, we are very regular customers, and so the staff is aware of my needs and was apparently mortified. I don't know what it is about entitled parents and discounting disabled folks so their kids can be brats, but yeah, now I have trouble eating at a restaurant I used to love. Thanks, entitled mother. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again, hope you enjoyed those. Sorry for the shorter videos these days, I'm working on getting some long ones out for you in the near future. So stick around, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.